every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. All right. Lord, we love to sing your praise. Lift up your name. Come on, every voice. Help me sing. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. And for once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. Oh, and as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath. They're evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. Oh, I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. Amen. We lift you up. So will I. Come on, let's declare this. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. Oh, if the wind goes where you send it, so will I. Oh, if the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. Oh, if the sun with all our praises still falls short, then we'll sing again 100 billion God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. But as you speak, come on, 100 billion failures that disappear. Oh, where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. you would again 100 billion times. But one measure could amount to your desire. You're the one who never leaves the one behind. Come on, let's give him praise. Come on, let's lift up his name.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tricker here. And before I get started, something I want to tell you guys. If any of you are in the Middle Tennessee area or are within driving distance of the Middle Tennessee area, as of this coming Friday, there's a very special event happening. It's at a place called The Fountain in Murfreesboro. And it is a free worship night concert event. Now, our church does, does these events usually about 3 times a year. This one is a little different in that it's going to be the largest we've ever done by a long shot, and we're partnering with 2 other churches, New Vision Baptist, and I can't remember the name of the other church, but the 3 churches are all like the 3 largest churches in this area. But our church is kind of founding it. If you like the music you hear at the beginning of these church life streams, Kyle, our worship pastor, who was the guy singing in that video, is going to be leading along with the worship leaders of the other 2 churches. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but I will be there. I'm going to try to take some time off of work, and I will be there for at least the first couple of hours of it. And so if you are there, look for me, say hi. You can meet Mrs. Anti-Tracker. She'll be there. Believe me, she loves these events. And, we're just there to praise God and have a good time. So if you are interested and you are within driving distance of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, please join us at the Fountain this coming Friday. I believe it starts at 7. And if you can always check out the experiencecc.com. That's the name of my church's website, where you can get details on the event. So I just want to throw that out there because I would love, even if it's just one of you, I would absolutely love it if someone walked up and said, "Hey, Anti-Tracker, it's me," and give me your username, and I'd be like, "Oh, holy crap, that's so awesome." And then you could actually see what Mrs. Anti-Tracker looks like, and Joshua will be there as well. So, it would be a blast. So come by, please, if you can. If you can't, I certainly understand. Some of you are well beyond driving distance, so I totally get that. All right, so as for the topic, what is a Christian? Now, I'm not going to lie. I get, a lot of the times I get inspiration for what my topic is going to be from the church service that we have Saturday night. And so, because our church meets twice on Saturday evening, twice on Sunday morning. The Sunday mornings are too late for me to attend, and we prefer the Saturday night services anyway. And we've been going through the book of Matthew, and we are currently in chapter 20 of Matthew. And we get to, in the second half of chapter 20, there is a little bit of talk as far as, well, what is a Christian? What do you need to do? What is it that I'm expected to be or do as a Christian? Because a lot of people don't understand it. And I think that, and it's painfully obvious when you look at the numbers, the astonishing number of people that actually it's not only that we disagree on one doctrine or another, it's that they totally miss the boat on what Christianity is. And when I say that, in this country, even now, even though Christianity has dropped significantly in this country, currently approximately 70% of the United States, I think it's actually at 68%, but about 70% of the United States identifies as Christian. When asked what is your religious affiliation, or do you have a religious affiliation, about 68% of people say Christian. However, about 45% of those that same group, so a significant amount, so it leaves, it's like 43% versus the final 25%. So, or no, let's see, 25. That's only 63, something like that. So it's like around 45% or so. About 45% of Americans and these are also within the group that identify as Christians, say that you don't have to actually do anything to be a Christian other than say you're a Christian. So you don't have to go to church. You don't have to follow any rules. You can do whatever you want. As long as you're not a serial killer or Adolf Hitler or something, then you're fine. There's only 25% of this country that actually claims to be a practicing Christian. Now, what is a practicing Christian then becomes the question, because if that's what you want to be, assuming that you believe, and by the way, the 45 odd percent, Corey mentioned someone who called these people Christian atheists. And the idea there is not that it's not to malign atheists in any way. It's just that they say that they believe in the Christian concept, but they live like they don't. So, you know, their lips may be moving, but they don't mean it. Because if you genuinely believe any of this stuff, it sure as heck should change your behavior just a smidge. Now, you know, if you're, like, for me, I'm an argumentative type of guy, right? And I'm still an argumentative type of guy. I was before I became a Christian, and I am now. However, it's your attitude towards things that does change. And so while I may still like a good fight, I like a different kind of fight than I liked beforehand. And you know, I also, you know, like I said, I was called out recently for some of the, you know, my participation, my willing participation in some of the hate directed at certain people in Hollywood, namely like Ryan Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, and all those guys. And, you know, I realized that, yes, I was called out on that. That was unchristian of me, and I shouldn't have done that, and you were right. And I actually talked last night at length with Corey, our pastor, because and he's a hard guy to get a hold of, but I was concerned because I wanted to make sure that I'm not doing anything right. Now, the Bible says that our battle, so to speak, our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers. Now, a lot of people put a certain level of, for lack of a better term, magic or spiritual sense to that. Like when they think of principalities and powers, they're seeing little demons sitting on people's shoulders going, hey, you want to cheat on your taxes, you know, and stuff like that. I don't think that's exactly what that means. And I kind of hit me the other day, and it's funny because it seems painful. It's one of those things that it's like, oh, that's so obvious, and yet I never got it. And so when I read that, I used to think, okay, demons that are trying to, you know, that's where our real battle is, right? Spiritual warfare, as we like to call it in Christianese. And I do believe that spiritual warfare is a real thing, but I don't think that that's what that verse is referring to. I think of it this way. If we look at Star Wars, our battle is with Lucasfilm, not with Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson. Now, Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson do work at Lucasfilm and are very, well, Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know about Ryan Johnson these days, but they do work at Lucasfilm, but our battle is with Lucasfilm. And that's an important distinction to make, because you don't know Kathleen Kennedy, you don't know Ryan Johnson, and look, I honestly do not know. I don't know if I assume if Kathleen Kennedy married. Does she have kids? Does she have cousins? Does she have, you know, parents that are still alive? You know, what is her family like? And people are throwing the most vile hatred at her all day, every day. There are YouTube channels that cannot go for a week without doing at least one video about what a horrible person Kathleen Kennedy is. And I dare say that everyone that's posting this crap does not know her personally. They're only saying that because they're mad about what's happening in Star Wars. but your battle is with principalities and powers, not flesh and blood. You are not supposed to be attacking Kathleen Kennedy. You're supposed to be attacking the problem, which is in Lucasfilm and in the movies themselves. And that's the direction that I'm going to take this channel. I've kind of done it already on the live streams, but I'm going to be doing that in my regular videos as well. I am not going to be saying F you Rian Johnson. I will be saying F you Lucasfilm. Because I realize that Rian Johnson, while yes, he was a big part of why the Last Jedi was a horrible film, but my battle is with principalities and powers, not with flesh and blood. That's a big part of being a Christian. We have to understand that we are called by God himself to do two things primarily. One, love God. Two, love humanity. And that includes, and it's actually specifically said, your enemies. Those that hate you, those that persecute you. But the Phantom Menace is the exact opposite of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that like the people in the Phantom Menace are bad people. From a humanistic scale, they're perfectly fine. You know, I'm not talking about, you know, the whole God is the only good. I'm talking about, you know, on a humanistic scale, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that they're not understanding that. And so what they do is when they are attacked, which, you know, obviously some of the people in Hollywood have attacked them, they attack back, right? When they see something bad, they get mad at the people behind it, right? And they express their anger and sometimes, especially when certain names, outright hatred of these people. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I'm going to jump ahead in the chat just a little bit for a second. Dark Winter stole my thunder a little bit by quoting Drax, or paraphrasing Drax, by saying, I'll do one better. Who is Christian? When I say, what is a Christian? Well, a Christian is a person who attempts, at least, to emulate Christ in their life. A Christian, the term Christian came from the idea of little Christs, meaning that a Christian should be a little Christ. The person should do everything in their power to act like Christ. In fact, the WWJD thing that was a fun fad for a while for Christians, you know, what would Jesus do? That's exactly what a Christian should be, a person who's constantly thinking, what would Jesus do in this situation, and then do it. All right? That's the hard part. Do it. So it means loving God, loving humanity, first and foremost. If you do those two things, all of the law and the prophets rests on those two things. That is not me talking. That's straight out of the mouth of Jesus. Okay? So before you cite some law from the Old Testament, look, Jesus himself said all the law and the prophets, which basically means everything from Genesis up to the page before, I can't remember what book it is, so the page before the first page of the book of Matthew. All of that rests on love God and love humanity. And by the way, there's a hidden commandment in there, love yourself, which is a tough one for some of us. Now, but who is a Christian? Well, a Christian should be actually painfully obvious. And that's the hard part. You know, we tend to hide our Christianity. I've done it. A lot of people have. We cower behind this veneer of just blending in with everybody else. Christians should not blend in. They should be obvious. Now, obviously, there's some people here that I know identify as Christian. Now, if you don't produce videos on YouTube and stuff like that, I don't really know what your behavior is like or anything, but I will tell you, here's a person who I think is obviously a Christian, Life with Matthew. All right, he's not here right now, probably because he's going to church, because he's never here on the Sunday streams, which is too bad. I love him. But Life with Matthew is obviously a Christian. He is kind, he is loving, and you know what? He does not get offended, and I make fun of people for this sometimes, but like when people come onto his live stream on the pub and start cussing up a storm, I've never heard Matthew say anything stronger than gosh, right? I swear every once in a while. I don't swear a lot, but I do swear every once in a while, and I don't think that it's unbiblical to occasionally use strong language if you're trying to make a strong point. I think that swearing just to swear, the vulgarity, so to speak, is wrong. But I don't think that that the occasional swear word is a bad thing. But Life with Matthew, I've never heard say anything harsher than gosh. But that's not. But just not swearing. That's personal control. But then he invites everyone to come onto his live streams, right? And it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter if you want to throw a bunch of F-bombs out there and say some of the most vile, offensive stuff in the world. He will talk to you and he will acknowledge you. He's not a person that is offended easily. Christians should not be offended easily, even though many Christians are. Christians should not be offended easily, and Christians should be warm and welcoming to everyone. Life with Matthew is a wonderful example of what a Christian should look like. Well, maybe not physically, but, you guys know what I'm saying. And if you're not subscribed to Life with Matthew, dang it, go subscribe to Life with Matthew. He's freaking awesome. But then, and this is where the Dark Winter's little thing, because he was joking about Drax, the next question is, why is a Christian? Why would you want to be a Christian? Sounds like it's a little rough sometimes. It is. You know how hard it is when somebody spits in your face to not spit back sometimes? Especially if you know you can. If you know you're justified. That's the hardest thing. People think, because some Christians have a persecution complex, right? Where they think everything is persecution against, oh, poor us. Oh, look at, you know what? If anybody that says that, remind them of something, which is that Christians from a couple of centuries ago would willingly and joyfully step into the Colosseum arena to get mauled. Why? Because they knew there was something better. They knew they were a part of something larger. They knew that if they were killed, that they were just going to a better place. So, fear should not be a part of the Christian vernacular. Judgment, especially judgment of non-Christians, should not be a part of the Christian vernacular. And what that means, that doesn't mean, for example, that I should say, well, I personally didn't like The Last Jedi, but I'm not going to judge. No, it's not that. What that means is that I have no right whatsoever. If you do not declare yourself a Christian, I have absolutely no right to condemn or what you are doing in your life. If it doesn't matter what it is, except for, obviously if it's criminal, you need to be locked up. But I'm saying, like, if you make lifestyle choices of any kind, that's not, I know people always focus in on homosexuality, but there's a whole lot more than just that. If you make lifestyle choices of any kind that are antithetical to the Christian way of life, and you are not a Christian, I have no right whatsoever to judge you for it. None. However, if you are a Christian, I have to judge you. But I also have to talk to you in private. For example, if, let's say, I saw someone who was the Bee's Nest movie says I consider myself a Christian, all right? So I don't know the Bee's Nest movies, and so I'll assume for the sake of discussion that you are male, so I can say he. So if he is doing something antithetical to Christians, like let's say I see Bee's Nest movies going in and saying, you know what, I'm just trying to think of something, I'm going to go into this porno theater and watch a bunch of, nasty movies because I like that kind of thing. So he goes in there and I see that, I have to confront him about it. As a Christian, I am absolutely obligated to do that, but I am obligated to do it privately. The Bible spells out very specifically how you approach judging others. And what you do is, first, you go to that person alone. And you say, Bee's Nest, look, I saw you going into the porno theater. I know that, that kind of stuff can be cool and fun and all that, but that ain't right. Right? And let's say Bee's Nest says, screw you, man. I'm a Christian. I don't care. I'm walking out of here, right? So then my next thing, as a Christian, is to bring another Christian with me. One or two, it says. So I get Life with Matthew, and me and Life with Matthew go and talk to Business. Look, man, I brought Matthew here so we make sure that we're all on the same page here, but we think that this is wrong what you're doing, and you need to stop. And Business says, screw you guys, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm going to keep doing what I want to do, because you can be a Christian and love porn. Goodbye. And by the way, Business, I'm not accusing you of anything, of course. You know, I'm just using you as an example. So then, my next job is to take it to the church elders, because at that point, I have to give it up to the proper authority. Now, this is assuming that me and Business are in the same church, because in the olden days, you probably wouldn't socialize much with people outside of your immediate church, but we'd find some kind of common authority to talk about it. If Business still refused, even after the elders and the pastor of the church said, dude, that ain't cool, then, honestly, the church's job is to say, okay, goodbye. And there's the door. And at that point, Business would realize, oh, maybe I'm not a Christian. That's how judgment is supposed to be done, but that's not how it's done. How it's done these days is people go to Facebook and say, you're an ass face or something. It's just, that's all it is. And that doesn't help at all. So I don't know if that pontification from me helped anybody. I hope it did, but that's my thoughts for today. Mortimus was first in the chat and pointed out I misspelled Christian, which I then corrected. Thank you, Mortimus. Odd Librarian says, good morning. God bless you. How are you doing? Carlos says, hope everyone is as well as can be, as do I. There's the bee's nest for the man or woman for that matter that I picked on. Bird O Pray 5 is in the house saying comply. Jeff Franklin. By the way, Jeff says last. It's so funny you should put that in there today, because this is something else that we were talking about at our church last night, is that Jeff is being very Christian when he's constantly saying that he is last. In that, what Christ himself said is that if you want to be elevated in heaven, you need to be subservient on earth. You need to basically, the metaphorically and literally washing the feet of others. You should be serving people, not lording over people. And then Christ goes on to say, he who wants to be first in the kingdom of heaven must be last. And the idea is that you need to be humble. You don't need to be the best. If for example, doing what I do here, right? I don't have to have 10 million subscribers and all that crap. You know what? If I never go beyond 14,000 subscribers, I'm still thrilled with the fact that there are people willing to listen to my voice. As horrible as my voice has been lately because of these stupid allergies. But if I do ever get bigger as a channel, awesome. But I need to accept that with humility, not with a sense of self-righteousness. And Jeff, there's one thing you are not, and that is self-righteous, and that is a compliment, my friend. Mortimus says the spelling is better. Bees is in the house, says some early morning Jesus. Indeed, well, except that it's just me, not Jesus. But, all right, so let me get down to where stuff is addressed. Wow, I'm so far behind. All right, so Carlos says, a lot of old ways people no longer can relate to, and I like that you help explain how to apply to us today. And well, thank you. All right, and I am on live chat. Thank you, my friend. Stan Lee says, Live with Matthew. Yes, if you are not subscribed to Live with Matthew, you absolutely should be. Love at the Love Shack says, good morning. Hey, funny, live at the Love Shack. Funny, live at the Love Shack. No joke. This is absolutely serious. Last night, me, Joshua, and Pastor Corey were talking about the B-52s. I am not making that up. So, and are you doing Sunday school now? Not exactly, but I've been doing this for a long time, actually. So live at the Love Shack. If you want to talk religion and stuff, yes, absolutely. On Sunday mornings we do church. If you don't want that kind of garbage, if you're like, oh, come on, I want to talk about nerdy stuff, then the other live streams are for you, and this is my dedicated church stream, but this is the only time I do that every week. The rest of the time we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Carlos says, this is my church community as well as the people I interact with around me. I hope that is enough. Well, Carla, you should find a physical church to go to, but it all depends on individual life circumstances. It's not about, and this is something that people confuse, it's not necessarily about what you do, it's about where your heart's at. But that doesn't mean, oh, well, I love God, so I don't need to do anything else. That means your heart's in the wrong place. That's self-righteousness. But the fact that you're like, well, I hope I'm doing enough. It's not about if you're doing enough. It's, are you doing what you can? And so there's no such thing as doing enough. And that's actually the worst thing that happens with Christians. There's a great story about a rich man, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times. There's a rich man met up with Jesus while he was walking the roads, and he said, "Hey, Jesus, what do I got to do to get into heaven?" And Jesus said, "Well, do you obey the commandments?" And Sean throws in 10 pounds. Thank you.
Being gay is not a choice. Those who can choose which sex they want to enter a relationship with are bisexual. I can no more feel attracted to a female than I can change the color of my skin.
That's very true, Sean. Being gay is not a choice, and I never said it was. And by the way, and here's something that's going to shock you, but it requires an asterisk and explanation. Being gay is not a sin. All right. And the problem is that people confuse that with the act of homosexuality. Now, what that means is being gay is definitely not a sin. What you are attracted to is not a sin. In fact, Christ himself was tempted by things. Now, we don't know exactly what Christ was tempted by, except for we know he was tempted by food when he was in the desert, but we don't know everything that Christ was tempted by. But Christ, like any other human being, had things that he desired, things that he wanted, that he was denied. And temptation itself, or desire for a thing, is never a sin. What's a sin is acting on those desires in certain circumstances. And I know that people say, oh, you just hate homosexuals because you think it's a sin. No, I'm saying that it's a sin in the Bible. I'm not saying that I don't have a problem with homosexuals at all. However, I also, and this is the thing that a lot of people, this pisses me off about Christians sometimes. They go, gays, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. Your kid is having sex with their boyfriend. Oh, that's okay. They're going to get married. But gays are going to hell. Gays are going to hell. Your kid that's just as freaking bad. And the important thing to remember is that all sin is forgiven. So I'm not holding someone's sexuality over their head. You know what? And I feel for those people because I couldn't even imagine the level of struggle that some gays go through, right? Not just because there's a persecution from people who just hate the LGBTQ whatever community. And then you also have those gays that try to be good Christians, and it's very, very difficult. If your religion states that your sexual preference is not allowed as far as action, that is a very difficult thing to deal with unless you're asexual, because that's actually the preferred sexuality of the Bible. And look it up. It is. It's in the epistles. Let's see. But yeah, so back to the chat before I'm just going on tirades today. But thank you so much, Sean. I do appreciate it. Fandom says, I'm sad that Ruth Ginsburg has died, and I'm sad but not surprised it immediately went political. What do you think? I am sad that it went political, too. And in fact, I said to my good friend Thomas Potts, F 2020, now we got a Supreme Court nomination to deal with. So I'm done with it. Phantom says Kennedy is married and has 2 girls. Okay, so, and this is the thing is, so if you want to say I don't like what's going on in Star Wars, that's fine. You want to, and it's not even like if you want to say I think Kathleen Kennedy made a bad choice, that's fine. But when people start calling her some of the horrifically bad things I've heard people call her, imagine what her kids, her grandkids, her great-grandkids down the road, because those YouTube comments don't go away unless someone deletes them, right? And even then, someone has a record of it somewhere. And imagine seeing that kind of vile hatred directed at your mom or your grandma. Think about that for a minute. And like Bird, I know you said she's the problem. I understand that, she made the choice. She hired Ryan Johnson. She did allow some of that to happen. But imagine right now that all the hatred online directed at Kathleen Kennedy was directed at Mama Prey. How would you feel about that? Even if your Mama Prey made a bad call in hiring someone that ended up making The Last Jedi, all that hatred directed at Mama Prey. And the reason I say that, because we don't know Kathleen Kennedy. Yes, we've seen her public persona. But just like everybody that is in a public position, many times what they do in public is different than their private lives. A lot of people, for example, say that Donald Trump is a very different person in private than he is when he's on camera, right? And the same is true of a lot of celebrities. And the same is true of a lot of YouTube personalities. There are very few YouTube personalities that are what they are. Most of them are putting on a front of some kind. Doomcock is just the most obvious of them. Because, the only time, you can see a little bit of real Doomcock when he's on his live streams, but his edited videos, obviously that's a character. He's not, sitting there and, no, that's not him. Now, on this point as to what let's see. This is on point as to what I'm preaching this morning. Excellent, Christopher. I wish I could be there. You need a new pastor? I'm for hire. Let's see. Live at the Love Shack. I go with the Preacher TV show approach. Screw both God and the devil. They did an awful job for the past 12,000 years. Well, I understand if you feel that way. I just disagree with you, because here's the problem. You can say, it's really, and when you say that kind of thing, and don't get me wrong, if you want to say, oh, screw God, screw the devil, right? Oh, the heck with all of them. You're basically making yourself God, right? I understand that that's what some people want to do, but quite frankly, that's a very dumb thing to do. Because assuming for a minute that God is real and you're saying screw him, okay, so you want to go to hell. Have fun with that. Ambassadorial Wing says, you have a good mindset. Criticizes ideas. Enough of this bashing the same people over and over again. Maybe it's time that the fandom forgive the past and move forward. An Ambassadorial Ring, a very wise man, Pastor Samuel Huddleston, taught me this, and it still takes time for that to sink in sometimes, but forgiveness is remembering that the past ain't getting any better. Think about that. T-Berg says, tough question. Are you a good Christian if you totally reverse your moral and civic stance and try to push new justice when the old one is barely cold? Modern Pharisees, Sadducees. Well, the problem is that that's a question, are you a good Christian? The answer is no. Never. You are never a good Christian. And that's where Christ was talking about, when you talk about good, the capital G good, right? He says there's none good but God. So don't ask yourself if you're a good Christian. Just ask yourself, what can I do? And that's something that we lose track of. We think that, I just got to get to level 5 and then I'm in. But one time I look, maybe I can make level 6, It doesn't work that way. This is not the freaking Good Place TV show where they're keeping a point scale on who's good enough. It's not about what your actions are. It's about where your heart is. It's about, are you trying to be better than where you are today? Because tomorrow you should be better than you are today. And the next day you should be better than you were tomorrow. And I'm sorry, Bezos. By the way, make sure you put at Anti-Truck if you want me to read it. But he put, I was in the army and killed people. Will God forgive me? How does that work? Well, first of all sin is forgiven. All means all, and that's all means, right? So people say, but I did all. But I all. 100%. There is only one sin listed in the entire Bible that is not forgiven, and that is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, which is basically just unrepentance, right? That's the only thing that's, so, turn away from your sin and it's forgiven. But I'll take it one more step. When you're in the army, and if you were, and like, assuming like if you were in the Middle East and part of a war and you shot and killed someone, that's not murder, my friend. There are soldiers in the Bible who killed tons of other people. In fact, David, one of the greatest people of the Old Testament, the first thing David did was throw a rock into the head of a guy, run up, and cut his head off with his own sword to display it for everybody. So no, killing in war is not a sin at all. Don't beat yourself up over it. I was in the Army. I did some things that, in retrospect, man, if I had done those for pleasure, I would have been a sick person. And there are people that get off on that, and that's kind of disturbing. But no, you're not. You are not. It's not a sin to do your duty for God and country. Stanley says, when you swear, do you ever use the Lord's name in vain? I have in the past, and I try not to. It's difficult. Like the GD word, right? I actually very rarely say that, if ever. I do just use D, like damn it. But I don't use GD. That just it feels wrong to me to say that. However, am I a legalistic person that says that, well, if you say that, you're going to hell? No, but, in my country, swearing is like breathing. Well, there's an interesting thing about that. And this is, the thing that people forget is that swearing is inherently subjective. Because if, for example, you are in New York or New Jersey, and I'm not saying the people in New York or New Jersey are bad people at all. There are some lovely people in New York and New Jersey, even though Bird of Prey 5 is from there. But if you're in New York and New Jersey, the F-bomb is just their way of saying hello, right? It's not a big deal to them. If it's just part of the common vernacular, if it's not offensive, then it's not swearing. Honestly, I know that some people, they try to throw F-bomb after F-bomb to offend Christians. But if that Christian is from New Jersey, they'll be like, yeah, I have you too, I choose not to swear in general on my channel. And the reason I do that, and that was from the beginning, and that's not out of some self-righteous spirituality, I'm not going to swear because I'm better than you. No. I don't swear because generally, I'm serious if I drop an F-bomb. I'm serious if I drop the S word, right? If I'm saying that, like I've said BS a few times without saying BS, right? And when I do that, I'm serious. I'm so serial. I'm serious about it. That this is something you need to take note of. Because, if I say, hey man, that is a bunch of BS, without saying BS. And I've done it a couple of times. That means, look, that ain't cool. All right? That's crossing a line. That I'm not joking about. That needs to stop. Right? And so, when I swear, that means something. And the problem is that, some places, like I know Lord Seth says, my country swearing is like breathing. And, well, if you... I get that, but it takes the power out of the word, and the word should have power, right? The F-bomb should be the F-bomb, not just the thing that you say all the time. And so, yes, Stan, I tend to stick to the more the non-GD words when I swear. I have used GD in the past, but very rarely because I don't like it. I find it distasteful. It's like Mrs. Anti-Trigger. She can swear if she wants to, but there's one specific word that I will not say, but I know is a very common word in Ireland. So if we ever go to Ireland, she's going to have to put a filter on it. And that is the word for female reproductive organs that starts with the letter C. And so she has a very difficult time with that word. She hates that word. And of course, there's some words that are just inherently, like the N words, for example. I never would ever call someone the N word because that is a racial slur, and that's just wrong. You should not, at least in my opinion. We don't have to forget what has been done to Star Wars, but maybe it's time we forgive what has been done. Ambassador, here's the thing: we need to forgive the people. Right? You need to forgive Kathleen Kennedy. You need to forgive Ryan Johnson. You need to forgive J.J. Abrams. All those guys, right? You know who you don't need to forgive? Lucasfilm. That's the principality and power I was talking about. There is no obligation you have to forgive a corporation. And I cleared that with my pastor last night. As I said, you know what? Our battle is with Lucasfilm. F Lucasfilm. And you know what? And I know people want to say it's Disney. You know what? Yes, Disney owns Lucasfilm, but Lucasfilm is, Disney didn't produce anything directly. And if you look at other Disney productions, honestly, Lucasfilm is the odd man out as far as being crap, which is really a shame. And so, because if you look at Pixar and you look at the Marvel and stuff, they're still producing great stuff. Yeah, some of the Marvel stuff was not as great as other Marvel stuff. Yeah, some of the Pixar movies weren't as great as other Pixar movies, but overall, they're producing great stuff. Lucasfilm, no. Ever since George Lucas left Lucasfilm, it's gone to crap. The Romans were not in power a couple of centuries ago. I was speaking hyperbolic, so yeah, maybe 15, 20 centuries ago, but you know what I'm saying. Jeez. You want to argue about that? Anti-Terry Bird of Prey, Part 1, another minor detail. And then it jumped. Hold on. Where was I? Persecution of churches was only official Rome policy for 18 months on the Roman. Sean! This is not about the trivia of Rome. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. You understand what I'm saying. My point isn't the date that the Roman persecution of Christians happened. That's silly. You want to argue about that, you're in the wrong channel. You know that, John. The point was that those Christians went into suffering willingly. They absolutely did. Of the original 12 disciples, one of them died of a natural cause, and even he was boiled alive. And so they didn't complain about it. They didn't sit there and go, oh, poor me. In fact, you want to talk about who's a Christian? I'll tell you who a Christian was. Chadwick effing Boseman. That is a effing Christian. You know why? He never once bragged about being a Christian. Never. I didn't even know he was a Christian until after he died. He was a freaking pastor. Yeah, Chadwick Boseman was a pastor and was literally praying to get the part of Black Panther to inspire young black kids. He wanted to make the world a better place through his art and craft. Not only that, though, Chadwick was suffering and dealing with cancer for 4 years, and nobody knew about it except for his immediate family. It never came out. He was struggling with cancer when he made Black Panther. He was struggling with cancer when he made Infinity War and Endgame. And then he died. Not complaining about it. And you know what? I'll bet you $1 million right now that if God went to Chadwick and said, okay, here's your choice. You can live to a ripe old age and be an incredibly successful actor, or you can make a movie that's going to inspire millions of black kids to live better lives, but you're going to die in 4 years. He would take that. He would say, Chadwick Boseman was a Christian to the core. And he is gone. I am sadder about the death of Chadwick Boseman than any other person that died in 2020. And there are some big ones, like Olivia de Havilland. Oh man, I loved her so much in some of those old movies. You know, George Floyd, obviously a tragic incident that sparked so much. The thousands upon thousands that died of COVID. But Chadwick Boseman, that hurt. That hurt deep. And obviously I'm not black, but I know how much more it hurt Mrs. Antitrek than it hurt even me. And then to find out after the fact that he was a pastor, I was like, holy crap. So, Darren says, can you say you're an ass face to that Weasley voice again? Thanks. Darren, you're an ass face. Sorry. I already read that. Darren says, speaking of being last, I've heard Army officers eat their mess after the enlistment, and the Navy, it's the opposite. Really? I did not know that the Navy did it backwards. I protested. I have marched for the homeless help with my government refuses. I protested. I have marched for homeless help. My government refused to give cash to friends. Rather, I used it myself. I would go out of my way to make somebody else happy. But I will not be subservient to another person. Well, you could say that, Lord Seth, but then you need to let go of that, my friend. We all have things we hold on to. We all have things like, okay, God, look, I'll do this, but I'm not going to do that. I got to have that, right? Whatever that is, that's what you got to lose the most. Whatever that thing is that you're unwilling to let go of, that is the first thing you need to let go of. And it's tough. I'm not going to lie. It is very, very tough. Nobody said being a Christian was going to be easy. Well, some people say that, but they lie. Wesley's in the house, says greetings. Well, that was probably a while ago. Sorry, I'm so far behind. Ambassadorial says, the sad thing is humility is something very rarely seen online, regardless of the platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or whatever. But maybe someday it will change. It will not change. It will get worse. I honestly, I think it will. Because the problem is that the internet has given humanity something they've never had before. And this is one of those things when I talk to friends that are humanists, people that think that people are generally good, right? That people are good unless provoked to do evil or sick in the head, right? I could not disagree more. Because when you give them the internet exposes human behavior. Because we can post anything we want online and not have to worry about anybody knowing who we really are. All right, let me give you a great example. Doomcock. I love Doomcock. You guys know that. Does anybody know what he looks like? No. He's very good at that. He's very, very good about that. There are a million other YouTubers that never show their face. But it's not just YouTube. There are people that post crap on Facebook every single day and never show a picture of themselves. There are people, that are on every social media platform that are constantly spewing hate. And it doesn't matter what kind of hate. Oh, but they're Democrats. Doesn't matter. But they're Republicans. Doesn't matter. Oh, but they're black. Doesn't matter. But they're white. Doesn't matter. Everybody's hating on everybody online. And that ain't going to change. Because the anonymity of the internet exposes human nature better than anything else. The fandom menace, for all my critiques of it, is just a natural extension of what happens when you give humans the internet. Lord says, my friend online is pregnant, and I have raised $1,000 for her bit less for her baby furniture. We have $2,000 for after the baby to arrive. That's very cool, Seth. But don't get me wrong, my friend, and you know I love you. But it's not about what you do. Now, I think that's great that you did that. I absolutely do. But it's not about what you do. It's about who you are. Wipe your glasses. They're very foggy, are they? I can't see him. But let me see. That's not what I was looking for. I have these lovely glasses wipes. I need to get some more of these. These are great. But let's see. And but yeah, they are pretty bad actually. Now that I was thinking, and it's funny. Yeah, I am horrible. I need to get some new glasses anyway, which we're gonna hopefully do this week. We've been much better. We've been fighting the benefits people at my employer because they were saying that I never sent them a receipt from 2018 and suspended my medical spending account. I was, yeah. So now that we got that taken care of, and they've released my medical spending. And it's been months and months and months of fighting to get this done. But so I've not been able to access my medical spending account for any of 2020. And we're like, oh crap! Now we got all this money in the medical spending account that they wouldn't let us spend, and we lose it if we don't spend it by the end of the year. Everybody's getting new glasses, so that's what we're gonna do. Aberjam, also known as Piano Dean, apparently says, "Greetings, brother. No notification. Sorry, my friend, but good to see you." Bird says, "Mama Pray wouldn't hire Kathleen Kennedy." Well, look, you and I both. I'm not saying that Mama Pray would hire Kathleen Kennedy per se, but what if she hired someone that she thought was going to be great and ended up being like Kathleen Kennedy? A lot of people, even in the Phantom Menace, what's his name? Robert Burnett, and who is very critical of some of this stuff, and an intelligent guy, fought with me tooth and nail over what a great resume Kathleen Kennedy has. On paper, Kathleen Kennedy would be a natural choice. If you don't know her, you didn't know what was going on in her mind as far as what she was really trying to do, there's no reason you wouldn't hire her. And in fact, most people were all good with her until The Last Jedi came out. Most people didn't get that upset over the Force Awakens. Sure, people were like, it's not as good as the originals. It's kind of a rehash of Episode 4, but there wasn't the hate that we got after The Last Jedi. And I was definitely a willing part of that. Don't get me wrong. Wesley says, heading off to work soon. Sorry, my friend. I hate working. And I got to work in a little bit as well. Lord Seth says, Lord Seth, I keep forgetting who you are. Now I remember, but it's funny. I don't think that I'm a good person. All the stuff I do for others, when I look back on my life, I live people happy as I could. I prefer to make my friends happy over myself. Well, that's good, but you know what I'm saying. And Darren says, God isn't his name. No, God is his title. Tim says, Anti-Trucker's cereal. I knew it. Yes, indeed. Darren says, the C word is as common in Australia as the F-bomb is in American urban centers. Right, and that's something that, like, if we ever, and we do hope one day to be able to travel and meet as many of you as possible, but just meet people from around the world. That's what honestly, my ultimate dream is to meet people in pretty much every culture on this planet. But that's something that Mrs. Antraker is going to have to work on, is when we get to places where that kind of language is used, it's going to be jarring for her. Stan says, yeah, GD and JC come out of my mouth in vain too often. Yeah, we got to be careful about that. Darren says, corporations are people too, you know. No, they are not. They may be legally, but they are not literally. Lord says, this was a convo me and my best friend had. Where's my F is my wallet? I looked over there. I effing looked. The F I meant to know. He found the C while I was in my effing shoe. Don't hide me from you, little shit. I get it, but you live in a very different culture than me, right? And so where you live, that if that's considered perfectly acceptable language, then it's just perfectly acceptable. That's the thing. Language is just a tool for communicating ideas from one person to another, right? And so if we are both on the same page that the F word is a non-offensive term that's just a a word we throw in to through a little emphasis on something. Like where I might say, where the heck is my wallet? You would say, where the F is my wallet? And it's acceptable in your society, and it's acceptable with both you and the other person. You're not doing anything wrong. Where it becomes a sin is when it causes other people to stumble. You should not. If you know that someone is offended by a term and you use it anyway, that's sin. Right? So, that's what you do, Lord Seth. I don't think is a sin. I think that what you're doing is just, being you. 5 a.m. forever. Hey, or 5 and AFN? 5 AFN forever. I'm not even sure what that means. You mentioned the N-word earlier. What is Mrs. Antrick's view on black people using that word? She hates it. She absolutely hates it. Even though you put the A on the end, so it's the N-word as opposed to the N-word she still hates it. Let's hijack the stream, make a trivia of Rome. No. Ambassador Williams says, the past can't be changed. It's done in the past. I agree with your pastor friend. We can reminisce about the good parts of the past, but we can work to make the future and present better. Indeed. Indeed. In fact, you can't change the past, you can't change the present, but you can change the future. And that's what's important. Lord Seth says, I'm sorry is one of the things... I am sorry, it is one of the things put us into growing up. Do not kneel to anyone but God. Do not kiss rings. Do not bow down. Do not be subservient. We are subservient for so long. In our own country, we are free now. Well, but, here's the problem, Seth. And I know that's something that's very difficult for you from a cultural standpoint and what you've been through. Absolutely, I understand that. And you know what? I agree with you as far as don't kiss rings and that kind of thing. You do not, that's not just subservience. That's literally the person with the ring is lording over you, and that is something that is sinful. But you should willingly be subservient to others, and that's a hard thing to do. And Bird says a mom Prey hired someone who turned out like Kathleen Kennedy to take care of the problem herself. Probably. But you understand my point, Bird. If Mama Prey made a bad choice, because Kathleen Kennedy made obviously a bad choice in hiring Ryan Johnson, right? And Ryan Johnson, by the way, because at first Kathleen Kennedy loved what he was doing. Oh, he's going to get his own trilogy and all that. Then the fan outrage happened. And while she did lash out at some of the fans, Ryan Johnson's trilogy is nowhere to be seen, is it? And so, yeah, I think that Ryan Johnson's Star Wars career is pretty much over. And so, while she may not publicly say it, I think that she did have a hand in that decision. Wesley says, I wish I could say and maybe even discuss things with you maybe one of these Sundays. I hope so too, Wes. Bird says, so I guess Miss Antrager doesn't watch The Boys much. She doesn't like the overt, graphic, gratuitous content. And I don't either. I don't like gratuitous content in film and television. I think that gratuitous content is gratuitous. Right? Now, the thing about The Boys is that it's unnecessary. I mean, I know that's what gratuitous means, but it's not only unnecessary in that it's gratuitous, it's not necessary to pull in the viewer. The story is awesome, and that's something me and Mrs. Angie Traeger talk about. It's like, man, I almost wish that story sucked so I could just not watch it. But the story is freaking awesome. Why are they doing this? Why do they have to have people being eviscerated all the time? Why do they have to have people having these graphic sexual things going on? Why do they have to have all the foul language in it? Why do they have to do something so wrong with something so right? I don't know the answer to that. It's sad to me because when I watch The Boys, I think about how close to greatness it really is. Lord Seth says, can you ask Captain Trek? I honestly limit myself on voice chats with Americans. He's heard me when I become more comfortable, like talking to my friends. Swearing increases by 50 times, and my slang goes up. Can I ask Captain Trek? You can ask Captain Trek. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm tired. You can ask. I know, Lord Seth, I know you try to limit yourself on that. And it's difficult if you live in a culture where that kind of language is acceptable, and then you're talking to someone in a culture where that kind of language is considered vulgar. It definitely is a difficult thing. But you know what? If you're talking to me, my friend, I do not take offense at bad words, right? I was in the Army. I worked in the field, slinging cable from pole to pole, right? I understand the swear words. I've heard them all. I've said them all. So you're not going to offend me. But Mrs. Antchecker is going to take a little bit, she'll power through it because she wants to meet people like you. But at the same time, it's going to be difficult for her. So if we ever make it out to Ireland, Lauren Seth, please help her with that. Me being subservient to others, good luck with that. If I say you tried to make me subservient, I would run your entire. If you tried to make me subservient, I would ruin your entire life as long as you kept me there, or even straight up fight you. But here's the thing: you do actually do it, Lord Seth. You just you're close. You're closer than you think. When you talk about the things, and I know you do this, and I really appreciate this about you, but when you talk about the things you do for your friends and family, it's the same thing. You just should do that for everybody. Now, granted, I know you can't raise funds for every single person, but the idea of being subservient doesn't mean that you walk up and you say, "Oh, may I be your slave?" No, it means that if you have the ability to help somebody, you help them. End of discussion. And that's something that Christians don't do, which is a shame, because if they did, Christianity would have a much better name in this world. But yeah, if somebody actually needs help, you help them. I know, mind-blowing concept, but that's all it really is. Believe it or not, the Boys TV show is more tame than the comic book. Yeah, I've heard that, Dreamer, but it's still gratuitous. And I'm not trying to compare it to something else that is gratuitous. You know what I'm saying? If you want to say, X is bad, right? And then you say, oh, but Y is worse. Does that make X good? No, that doesn't change the position of X. You're just trying to move the goalpost by saying that something else is worse. Now, I'm not saying you're doing that, Dreamer. I'm just, understand where I'm coming from. So I get it that the Boys comic book, from what I've heard, and you're not the first person to tell me this, the Boys comic book is much worse than the TV show. But that doesn't make the TV show better, and the TV show is still gratuitous. And it's still a shame because it's completely and utterly unnecessary. They have such a brilliant concept with the superheroes being the bad guys and the bad guys being the heroes. That's a wonderful idea. Not only that, but it's a great dramatic device because all the really uber powerful characters are the bad guys, and they didn't have to sit there and explain to you what they can do. You knew immediately what the Deep was capable of. You knew immediately what, I can't remember what the speedster's called, but what He's can do, what Homelander can do, because they're all parallels of existing superheroes, right? We get it. And so we know that, okay, he's got laser eyes, he can fly, he's super strong, he's Superman, right? Oh, he can talk to animals, he's super strong, he can swim really fast, breathe underwater, okay, he's Aquaman, right? And so that's all, that's the beauty of it. They took all these existing characters, flipped them on their head, and it's like, okay, now they're the bad guys. Because, the funny thing is that while Lex Luthor is a fine villain as villains go, granted, he was a mad scientist before he became the corporate tycoon, but the problem is that the only reason Superman doesn't smash Lex Luthor's head in is because of his ethics. There's no dramatic tension. There's never a time where you're worried that Lex Luthor is going to kick the crap out of Superman, except, I know there's the occasional kryptonite. I have kryptonite. Ha ha. You're weak now. Or, oh, look, I created a room with the red sun. Ha ha ha. You're weak now. But those tropes they just get boring. But the idea that Superman is the villain and Lex Luthor is the hero? Oh, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Because now you have dramatic tension. If you look at a story, like right now, and I've only watched the first episode of season 2 of The Boys, but, the there is, when you look at Butcher and there's no way Butcher could ever take down Homelander. No freaking way. That's what makes tension. Because you don't think that, right now, I say there is absolutely no way Butcher wins. Now, if they come up with a clever way that Butcher wins, awesome! If they don't, oh well. But it's a great show outside of the gratuitous content. And, I can never get your name right. Masticine, whatever that is. Good midday. How you doing? Isn't today delightful? Actually, yes, this week has been really nice weather-wise. It's been cooler. My sinuses haven't been as bad, but as you can probably hear, they're starting to get worse because I'm talking a lot, and I got to shut up in a minute because I got to work in just a little bit. Darren says, don't watch The Boys then. But you know what? I love the show. I just hate the gratuitous content. That's the problem, Darren. I can't not watch it because it's freaking awesome. Lord Seth says, I do help others. I give hundreds a year to those in need. Every Christmas, I give to anybody in need. I believe in Irish first, but I will never give a stranger food. I believe in Irish first, but I will never serve a stranger food or clean their house. Well, that's fine. I mean, if you're, I'm not saying you have to go in and clean their house, but if you're helping them get a maid, that's fine. That's still cleaning their house. You know what I'm saying? And let's see. For the same reason, Batman doesn't kill the Joker, because ethics. Even if the Joker is, chaos incarnate, to the point that the Joker and the Batman are bound yin-yang. Yeah, but the difference is that Batman, while definitely more skilled as a combatant than Joker, is just a normal human. If Joker actually has a gun at Batman's head and pulls the trigger, Batman dies. Right? But the Joker wouldn't do that because then he wouldn't have his favorite plaything, namely Batman. So, that they are kind of a yin-yang kind of combination. I think they're interesting. But but with Superman being the villain and Lex Luthor being the hero, and it's not even Lex Luthor. I mean, Butcher is really like a second-rate supervillain, right? And it's awesome. When you look at The Boys, right, only one of the boys, and that's ironically the female, has any kind of superpowers. Anyway, Cinnamon's taking off. Have a good one, my friend. Dreamers out there says, I hear what you're saying. That's fair. I think that they're just adapting the story that is there, and the gratuitous content is probably to be par for the course with other streaming services. I know, but it's just so wrong. And don't get me wrong, I like I said, I like the show. I'm not going to stop watching the show because it has graphic content. It's not like, oh, I cannot watch that. Oh, I'm not a prude. But the problem is that when you do that, you turn off people, right? And it's a shame because it's such a good show. And streaming services, that's another thing is remember what I talked about the internet basically revealing people? It also reveals exactly what, why the hell do you think Star Trek Discovery has graphic language and nudity in it? Because it's a streaming service. Oh, now they don't have to worry about mom and dad seeing what we put on TV. Now we can put it behind a paywall, and that way we can put any garbage we want into it and just say, hey, it's streaming. F you Netflix, F you all the streaming services. Because here's the problem with these companies, is that if you have broadcast television or even cable TV, right, you have a general idea what to expect. So if you stick with the broadcast channels, you're not going to get overtly graphic content. You're not going to get nudity and swearing and stuff like that, at least not regularly. Now, if you have cable, depends on the package you get. Right? And so if you don't want that really graphic content, don't get the premium channels, right? But you get Netflix? Holy crap, I constantly get stuff from Netflix suggested to me that I would never watch. And for some reason, it's always LGBTQ stuff. I don't watch any LGBTQ specialized content, and yet they're constantly trying to shove that in my face. I don't want that shoved in my face. And I'm so glad that my kids are old enough to where I'm not worried about them getting it shoved in their face. Because if I had Netflix 20 years ago, holy crap, would I be going through the roof about shows like that Cuties and stuff. Fortunately, I feel sorry. I feel truly sorry for parents of small children today, because the graphic, disgusting content that we see on Amazon, on Hulu, on Netflix, it's the exposure of human nature. And a lot of people, including probably a lot of people in this chat, think there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what's wrong with it. Is that we as a society have decided that it's perfectly okay to have people getting ripped to shreds for no reason. It's perfectly okay to show graphic content. Hey, it's all right to show two dudes having sex, or two women having sex, or two dudes and a girl having sex, or whatever. Oh, no, that's all fine. After all, the kids got to learn about that eventually, right? What the hell is wrong with you? Not you, but you know what I'm saying. People that would say that. Ambassadorial Ring says, as a Christian, I'm not so sensitive that I can't watch a show that might make me think about my faith and those on the other side of the spectrum. Oh, agreed. And in fact, I welcome the challenge of some movies and TV shows that talk about this stuff. Like The Devil's Advocate, great movie. Great movie. Like the whole absentee landlord speech that the devil makes in that, oh, that's good stuff. If I was doing Trek, I would put stuff like blood and guts for battles only reveal. It makes sense if say a female officer ripped shirt after a battle, but no random boobs. Well, it depends on the context of the story. Yeah, if the story is enhanced by like, for example, I'll use The Boys as a great example. The final episode of season 1 of The Boys. There is a scene where Homelander, the Superman character, goes to, I can't remember where, I think it was Syria or something, somewhere in the Middle East, where there's a terrorist organization. And he goes into this warehouse where they're working and annihilates them with his heat vision, just slicing them to pieces left and right. Very graphic scene. Not gratuitous at all. They were showing you what Homelander can do. That was all right. I didn't have a problem with that. Let's see. But Cuties is French and made by French black female. You can't be nasty about that. Would be attacking it seriously. That's their game. I know. And that's sick. I'm sorry. I don't care what culture she's from. I don't care what ethnicity she is. I don't care what gender she is. The show's disgusting. That's all I'm going to say about it. You want to watch it? You go right ahead. I ain't talking about it on this channel. Other than to say, I ain't talking about it. Let's see. This is dumb. Netflix, they changed their name of Cuties to Les whatever, the French name, to make it harder to search. Did they? I didn't know they did that. But whatever. But I honestly, I'll tell you, I discontinued my Netflix membership over that show. And in fact, it expires in a few days. So right now we're trying to watch everything that's on Netflix that we wanted to watch because they're not getting one more freaking penny from me. Is there a playlist for the live streams? Well, actually, Alita, and thank you for joining us. If you go to antitrekker.com, you can access every live stream from there. And I do need to do that. I'm going to create a playlist for live streams. But right now, antitrekker.com, you can see all my live streams, except for the occasional one I delete. If I accidentally show someone's personal information during a live stream, I'll delete that one, something like that. Because obviously I don't want to be accused of doc dropping or doxing or whatever the hell they're calling it these days. Dreamers out there says, also I've been told CBS All Access, they've edited out Klingon boobs. It's still on the Blu-ray, but it's been removed from streaming. I have not checked. I haven't watched that episode in a while. I'm gonna be watching it in a couple of weeks. So just say, oh, by the way, I forgot to bring it up here, Darren, but the package has arrived. So I will be displaying that somewhere around here on all my live streams moving forward as soon as I can. I'm going to set up a little stand for it and everything. So to remind people. But here's the deal. We're going to be doing a live stream telethon, so to speak, on Wednesday, the Wednesday before the premiere of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. And the way that live stream is going to go is very simple. Me and Live with Matthew are going to watch at 2 times speed because we have to in order to make this within one day. So at double speed, we're going to watch all, and I mean all, of Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and Season 2. And live react to the whole thing, and then watch the season opener. But if we raise enough money, I think the goal is going to be about $2,500 to go towards a large form factor resin printer. Then we will both eat a little nitro gummy bear before watching the season 3 opener. And if you don't know anything about the little nitro gummy, it is a 9 million Scoville unit gummy bear, which means that it is 3 times stronger than pepper spray. And so, holy crap, that's going to be painful. But I will do it if we can raise the money. And Matthew has decided to join in because it will help us both. And so, you want to see 2 Christians burn in hell? There's your chance. Let's see. That's why I find myself watching older Trek more and more recently. I agree, because it's better. Agree with you, Anna. They're using the alphabet to protect the vile trash. Yeah, and it's stupid because, you know what? That degrades the people you're trying to elevate. It degrades them. Oh, we're going to throw child porn at you, but hey, look, it's a French black woman, so it's okay. What? How does that make any effing sense? Hello, today seems like a lot of these shows, like The Boys, are trying to be like Game of Thrones. Well, but the difference with a lot of them and The Boys is actually really good. You're good at that. Accidentally said my IRL months. You accidentally said my in real life name months ago, and you deleted the stream without drawing attention to who I am and my username. Well, yeah, I try to do that because I've done it to a couple of people by accident, either addressing them as their real name, or like occasionally, like a screen will pop up that has a conversation we were having in Skype, a private conversation or something, and whenever the background disappeared, but it was just resetting. And so when that happens, I want to make sure that I delete those streams because I don't want people freeze framing on it and trying to look for something that's, that really is private information. And keep Little Nitro away from your son. Yeah, no, he'd probably like it. I'm gonna get him one. Pixelate says people cancel their Netflix because of cuties, but don't do to the companies doing the things that is even worse. It's a shame. Well, I'm not sure what you're saying is worse than cuties because being vague like that doesn't tell me anything. I mean, if you were going to say, but doesn't have a problem with companies that do, then give me something specific. I'm currently reviewing Raised by Wolves. It does explore a matter of religion versus atheism. It's a great show by executive producer Ridley Scott. I've not seen it. And Fed drops 5. Thank you so much, Fed.
Watching Discovery again, intentionally. Isn't that a special circle of hell, Dante? Tongue also, I return from hell to the Shland.
Yes. Not only is it a special circle of hell, but remember, they were going to finish it by eating a little nitro gummy bear, assuming we raise enough. So, and what we'll probably do, I'm trying to think what the best way to do it is, but, we'll probably set, like, a certain goal and then something else. I don't know. But little nitro is going to, yeah, you want to see us suffer? Yeah. Let's see. Sean says, isn't cutie slang for lice? Not in my culture. The package has arrived. Hello, let me know when Juan Valdez has been separated from his donkey. Dreamer says, let me know if they actually did edit it out. I'm not planning to watch any more disco ever. I will let you, if I remember when we get to that episode, I will let you know. I'm not comfortable with any conversation that revolves around Anti-Tracker handling Darren's package. Well, don't worry. I'll be wearing gloves when I handle Darren's package. And so, Cooties is a good movie. Watch it. Trust me. It's a nice, fun movie. Hey, let's see. I don't know what that's... are you being serious? Is there a movie called Cooties, or are you trying to just say people should watch Cuties? Because I don't think they should. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. And this big special thank you to those that are able to super chat. And don't forget the telethon for all that is coming soon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Cooties. I don't know what that's. I never heard of it. So anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Jolan True. And yes, handling Darren's package, you're really lining them up. Yep. And Lloyd says, does Mrs. Enter mind you handling Darren's package? We all know he will enjoy it, but that's between you guys. Well, he will definitely enjoy when I eat what's in his package.
Making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid? Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
This is like the best song ever.
Birds of a feather flock together, that's what we believe. We know a place that's got you covered, a place to get relief. Wouldn't you like to say me poo? Sometimes you wanna go where turn-to-standies know your name, and all Kurogans are to blame. You wanna be where you can see Kuroga go up in flames. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
You son of a bitch, Anti-Tracker!
Hello, world.
I got him! Great hit! Don't get cocky.
For Rosalid, sexy law hooker.
All right, for Rock Solid. Pour one out for Rock Solid.
Hey, you want to learn about Jesus?
There's no such thing as hooker-client confidentiality. Client confidentiality. Client confidentiality.
You son of a bitch, Anti-Tracker!
Hello, world.
I got him! Great hit! Don't get cocky.
For Rosalid, sexy law hooker.
All right, for Rock Solid. Pour one out for Rock Solid.
Hey, you want to learn learn about Jesus?
There's no such thing as hooker-client confidentiality.
You son of a bitch, anti-tracker!
Hello.